Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello, girls. Welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's body image and mindset online coach. Today, I'm talking with an incredible woman who I've literally just been chatting for the last 20 minutes because we love talking. I have the talented Mickey with me. And for those who don't know Mickey, she is the co-founder of Nexus Performance, which is an online programming and nutrition company. From 2022 to 2023, they have expanded into gyms, which are located in the Gold Coast and Townsville, Australia. And they actually have a team of coaches and staff now. Now, for those who don't know Mickey, she prouds herself as an online nutrition coach and helping powerlifters with their performance through understanding key nutritional principles, setting up quality habits, creating positive lifestyle routines, and building stronger mental resilience. Now, even in a strongly male-dominant sport industry, I'm sure you girls who are already in the industry can relate to this. Mickey has this power and courage to show up and prove to other women that she can do it too. Now, Mickey, I know we've been talking for like the last 20 minutes before I hit but I want to know you on a deeper level, and I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear this as well. But what is your biggest struggle, or what was your biggest struggle when it comes to being in a male-dominant sport and industry?
Again, like this was stuff that we were sort of talking off air there, but it was just having my own identity. Like in the sport of powerlifting, it is very, very male dominated. And like there's definitely a shift in the scene. And, you know, a lot more women are coming into the sport as athletes and gradually coming in as coaches. But there's definitely not, I would say, a large enough scene of women considered respected, authoritative coaches and individuals and business owners. So that was kind of my biggest struggle was, that's kind of the identity crisis that I'm coming into face with now. I always sort of felt like I was in the shadows. I was in the shadows of my partner and his success, though I absolutely adore him. You know, we've been together for 10 years and built this company together. I always felt like I was kind of in his struggle, in his shadows. So that was probably the biggest struggle that I've personally had to work through. And a lot of that I feel like has maybe come from my own insecurities. It's not a position that he or anyone else has actually put me in. So it's just a matter of working through that, and having other people kind of respect me the same way that like he does. You know what I mean? So yeah, I can't think of anything now off the top of my head as to major fears or struggles or things like that, like particular situations or circumstances that I've been put into. But just struggling with my own identity in the scene, I think, has probably been the biggest thing.
Let's talk about identity, because too often, and I know I can relate to this, that will be looked as a certain coach or a certain person, but we know the reality is that's only like such a small percentage of what we are. So I would love to know, like, what are some identity struggles or changes that are happening for you right
now? There's a particular situation that I actually reflect back onto a lot of people quite often. And it's how I want people to receive and perceive me. So there's a particular circumstance that we were talking about, like what people think of me, like who I am. And one lady described me as being intense. And I got incredibly upset and offended by that. I don't know why, I kind of laughed it off and said, I think you're mistaking intensity as passion. Something I'm very passionate about what I do. And so that's kind of one of the identity breakdowns that I've had to kind of work through is how I'm being received by people. Am I being received as really aggressive and direct and blunt, and words that I use to describe myself? Like, I tell people, I'm like, yeah, you know what, like, I can be pretty direct, I can be like to the point and blunt and whatever. But then I think there and I'm like, I don't want people to think of me like that. I want people to think of me as someone that's very genuine, that is considerate and empathetic. So these are all like, different traits and parts of myself that I've had to explore a little bit more. And something I'm only just, to be honest, like only just kind of working on, because my identity has always just been so caught up into what I do and my work and that side of me. I haven't really, in the last couple of years, really been able to explore other sides of who I am, because I've just been so tunnel vision on this.
Let's talk about that, because before we started recording, we were talking about how both of us are very like goal-driven women, and we love taking the next step or like the next goal and just go, go, go. And we're constantly, striving within our businesses. And I would love to know in terms of yourself, because as we were talking, where we feel not that we're stuck, but we just notice how goal driven we are, that we just don't have a stop button or just be able to go back and reflect and be like, oh, I'm actually happy with this. Like, let's keep it as it is. So my question to you is like, what is the next step for you to be able to be okay with what you have right now without having to go for the next thing, constantly?
I think what I'm personally working on now that's going to allow me to go to that next step is boundaries. Setting boundaries with my staff. So currently we're a team of 11, which actually I think 12 now that I'm like 12. So setting boundaries with my staff to be able to give myself the mental escape and time that I need to work on my own personal endeavors, like even if it's just small little creative outlets that I like to do. It gives me time to be able to explore those without the constant distraction of and the call to work. So when I walk into the gym at the moment, it's very frequent that I walk in and I'll either get completely distracted by questions that staff are asking me at that particular time, or throughout the session, people coming up and talking to me and asking me questions about what they're struggling with, or, certain situations. Or I'll actually just start cleaning and I'll start doing things around like putting weights away or wiping things down and all that sort of stuff. So I'm constantly distracted, and I need to be able to set better boundaries for myself, for my staff as well, so that they can have their own personal time and not feel like they constantly need to be in my ear or keeping me in the loop. So I feel like by having clarity on all of that is going to give me the time to focus on the things that I need to do for me, to find who I am and what I love and what I want to be doing. And then that unleashes that next level of my own business, because once I know who I am within myself, I feel like it is only going to allow me to excel what I want to do with my business, which I know what that is. Like, that's something that 10 years in the making now, but I'm very confident in the direction that and what we want to be doing in the next 2, 3, 5 years with our business. So I don't have any doubts there, but it's hard to really put a lot of direction and effort into that if I'm not putting that back into myself as well. So long-winded answer there.
I absolutely love that answer, and I love the openness of it, because to too often people won't look internally. They'll, neglect whatever's happening, or they'll just, gaslight themselves and be like, oh, I need to take care of the business. I need to take care of my stuff. And it's just like, well, actually, like you said, if you're not taking care of yourself at some level, it's just like, how else is everything going to work better for you? And I would love to know, like, what does that look like for you right now? Like taking care of you, aside from like setting the boundaries with stuff.
I love gardening.
Mm.
Like it is, and this is one of the things that my business coaches has suggested, like getting out of my head and getting into my body and just doing things either with my, like the examples that she used to get out of her head was like she loves coloring with her kids and, doing after school care things with them or going shopping with them. And for me, I love just getting into the garden, and there's also this slight sense of like self-gratification as soon as it's done, because you're just like, well, this is what it looked like now and this is what it looked like after, and there's like this instant sort of improvement, which makes me feel really good. But which again could kind of be tied back to some of the working too hard and constantly looking for changes and whatever. But it does allow me to literally just completely escape whatever is going on in my head. Like when I think back on gardening things that I've done, there's no point where I'm like, what was I thinking in those last 3 hours? Like what did I do? The only thing is that it's just very physically exhausting, because I get in there like pickaxe digging holes, like turning soil over, the whole thing. So I get really hands-on with it, and that allows me to completely escape. Other things that I love doing is like I've wanted to get back into like clay molding and working with those sorts of things. Is like I like to think I'm a very creative person. I'm not very good at doing things with my hands. Like I can't color, I can't like write or sing or anything like that, but I like to think I'm quite creative mentally. It's just like executing it probably isn't necessarily the best. So doing things with clay where I can just like smash it together and just make a complete mess. Those are all little things that I want to start to explore a little bit more. So I can just truly escape whatever is going on in my mind.
What do you feel as if you're trying to escape from?
Just the constant distraction of work, and it, like, just there's always something I can be doing. And so if in terms of work, like just now I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like, all right, I've got to edit this web page and I've got to send this email out and I have to do this and I have to do that. And a lot of it is because I'm not very good at delegating. And if I do delegate and things aren't done the way that I want them to be done, and I just come in, I'm like, oh, it'd be so much faster if I just do it myself. So I think I'm just I'm looking for, like just the escape from work, so that I can do things that make me happy and excite me and bring out that playful side of me that I feel like I've been hiding for so long. So that's probably, I don't know. That's actually a really good question. Like, again, these are all things that I'm like just starting to scratch the surface of. Like, is it just work that I'm trying to escape, or is there other parts of me within that I'm wanting to, that I'm hiding from, or I've put walls up from and I haven't knocked those walls down yet? But I think, and these are things that we kind of talked about before, it's just about having the willingness to openly explore that and make those changes. Like, I'm in that position now. And I know you asked me to actually jump on this podcast like many months ago, but like at that point, I probably wouldn't have been able to have these conversations and explore this vulnerable side of me. Like I lost both my dogs, which was a really hard time. I bought the second gym. My partner was going through diabetes stuff. We had just late onset diagnosis, then getting into competition preps, and it was just onboarding 5 staff. And it was just like so many moving things that I just like I wouldn't have been in a position to really explore and get really vulnerable and raw with myself, because I had to be strong. You know, I had to stand up and I had to be present, because if I wasn't, then people around me like wouldn't have been able to succeed the way that they have now. So now this is where I'm going through that pathway of kind of self-discovery a little bit.
I love that. There's nothing better than going through that transition yourself and being aware of the changes and the experiences that you've dealt with. And you also mentioned a really good point about, obviously, like, yeah, we were in contact a few months ago, but like you said, that time of your life was just way too intense to be able to have this conversation. But also on a deeper level, as you mentioned, like you probably didn't have the capacity to have these conversations and be open and vulnerable. And I feel as if that's something that a lot of women struggle with, is being and men actually being vulnerable and open to have really uncomfortable fucking conversations. And it's so interesting because when I grew up, I was literally a one-worded person. You ask me a question, I will just give one word and that's it. And I don't know, maybe that's like my own fucking trauma that I need to like heal from. But now I just love asking people questions. I love knowing everything. I want to, like, the deeper, the fucking better. Like, I want to like peel all those layers off that onion. So I love the fact that we're being open right now about rediscovering ourselves, going, cool, work is awesome, but like, what about me? Like, what else do I enjoy doing aside from work? And you know what? Sometimes I have these thoughts in my head going, I love my fucking job. And if I could do it 24 hours, I probably would, but like, is it healthy? No, not really. However, I don't know if you've seen this on social media, but there's certain people that keep popping up on my page. I don't know if it's just me subconsciously noticing it. But they're pushing this idea that if you're wanting to work till 2 a.m. in the morning, then work till that time of night, like, strive for the struggle, strive for the chaos and all that. And I don't know, like, I feel as if sometimes it's just putting people in a really negative position at looking at their business, because you mentioned a really good point before, going, we need to set boundaries with certain people and work and be able to have our own time. But then you have people on the other spectrum going, just fucking work till 2 a.m. and then have your dinner and then go to bed. It's just like, is that healthy?
Yeah. Like for me, going back to some of the stuff you're talking about, like with vulnerability and being raw and honest, like I see great strength in being vulnerable. Like to me, if someone can be raw and honest and put that out on social media, I actually have a higher regard of respect for them, because that shows to me that there is a level of self-awareness.
Oh, yes.
And that is huge. Like, if not just in terms of just like self-discovery or whatever, but self-awareness in terms of how you communicate and connect with other people, how the people receive you, how you treat your nutrition or your training or anything like that. Like a great level of self-awareness is a skill that I think people can learn. And it's that willingness to do the work that we were kind of talking about before. But in terms of like the hustle hard and that sort of stuff, like I'm not seeing a great deal of that myself personally. I've really kind of withdrawn a little bit from exploring what everyone else is doing in their own social media, because I'm just kind of focusing on what I'm doing right now. So, but I definitely can see how there's a huge breakdown in like what people should be doing, right? And I think that's always kind of going to be the case, because it's like that with nutrition or training. Like there's so many different ideas and methods and whatever that people like to preach. It's like, this is the way and everything else is silly. So you're always going to have that mixed messaging on social media. Sadly, that's unavoidable. Yeah. What I would do if I was in that position and you're really concerned with like, oh shit, if I have to be working till 2 a.m. to accomplish what this person has, is there's kind of two things going on there. Is like, what is your quality of life like? Like, disregard what this other person is doing. what is your quality of life like? Are you enjoying what you're doing? Are you wanting to pursue that? Because if you want, then if you don't want to be working till 2 a.m., then who fucking cares what this person is saying? Because that doesn't align with you. That doesn't align with your values. So stop trying to bring on other people's ideologies of what perfection is, which is kind of the second point there that I'm getting into. It's like, stop trying to fit other people's values into your own. Create your own.
Yes.
So like, if your values are not work, because not everyone like lives to work, you know what I mean? They work to live. Like my sister, for example, like, bless her, like she's, you know, coming into her 30s now, and she's only really just started to discover what she wants to do with her life. So for the first, you know, 10, 15 years finishing school, she's like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I don't know who I am. I don't know where my life is going to take me. And she's still kind of going through that as she's finishing up her uni and things. But, like now in her early 30s, she's just kind of really started to discover what means the most to her. And she's looked at me, who maybe works really fucking hard and my life is work. She's like, actually, I don't want that. Like, I want to just do my job and like love what I do and love my workplace and love my environment, because obviously you spend a lot of time there. You should kind of enjoy that. But then I want to go home and I want to be with my husband, and I want to go and have holidays, and I want to go and explore things and taste things and create life and whatever. So if your values don't line with, I want to, you know, like be earning all this money and working all these hours, then don't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why? Like, who cares? Just create your own life, and your own values, and do the things that you do that align with that. So
yeah, you made such a good point, because too often, you know, going back to what that perception of what success looks like for everyone, you know, for someone like your sister and other individuals who don't want to be running a business, will look at other business owners and be like, oh wow, like they have everything, you know, they're making so much money, they're doing all the work. But then when they're actually in it, amongst it and doing their work, they realize, oh, actually, no, I don't want to be doing this. And that's okay. And I feel as if a lot of people who do take that path, who, you know, dabble in it and then realize, hey, I don't want to do this. I actually want to go into whatever it is you want to do, then do that work for someone. And that if that makes you happy, so be it. And you made a really good point before about how certain people will want to work just to literally just tick it off, go on holidays, have the fun they want to have. And I was reflecting on this about relationships. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine where she was telling me how she hasn't been on a holiday with a partner for quite a while, because they're both business owners. They've been delegating a lot of work within their businesses separately. But when they see other couples on social media, or when they talk to other couples, they are noticing that others are going away a lot. They're dining out a lot. They're going to the movies, or they'll spend more time together. And I'm like, there's no right or wrong in this. Again, it's whatever's going to make you happy. So for example, like with you and Will, it's just like your time together. Yes, it's going to be dedicated a little bit more for work, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad relationship. So people, you know, people are always like, oh, the grass is greener. I want to be doing what they're doing. It's just like, but your lifestyle is so different to that.
Exactly. Like, would you say your friends were envious of those people?
Yes. Yeah. Like it's funny because I'm recently single as well. So I was reflecting, and I was just like, wow, these couples are really happy because they're going out, they're having fun. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, are they happy though? Or is it just, you know, they're just putting it out there? You don't know.
Yeah, 100%. Like, Will and I are very, very strongly bonded. Like, he is my best friend, without a doubt. Like, there is no one that I can be unapologetically myself with other than him, and know that there is no judgment, no care in the world for what I say, what I do. and like he supports me wholeheartedly. Like if I turned to him and said, hey, I kind of want to step out of the business and start to explore this other side of me, and do, not saying that I'm going to, but like if I wanted to step out and be like, hey, I feel like being a real estate agent now and getting into property management and renovating properties and things like that, he'd be like, that sounds pretty fucking exciting. Like, let's logically look at how this could work and then give it a go. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
So like we've definitely, I won't lie, like we have definitely lost ourselves in and lost our relationship a little bit in the business, and it's at times been a business partnership more so than a relationship partnership. But that comes in phases. Like we are very much aware of this. And again, going back to this point of self-discovery, we've had some pretty big wake-up calls in these last couple of weeks that I'm talking wake-up calls where 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, we both just woke up and then had like a 30-minute deep conversation of just like, have we, you know, do we need to be doing more things together? Do we need to be separating ourselves from work? Because we both work from home. So like literally everything we do is just so work related, that we have had to sit there and be like, okay, we maybe do need to put a little bit more of a conscious effort into separating ourselves from that. But we are so honest with each other that we can have those conversations and do the things necessary to actually start that, you know what I mean? So we're getting married at the end of the year on our 10-year anniversary, and we've already started planning like our honeymoon and all the things that we want to be doing around that, which will be our first holiday in 5 years. And I'm not talking like trips to Melbourne as a holiday, because trips to Melbourne are usually governed by going and supporting clients at competitions or doing podcasts or meeting with, you know, different networking and that sort of stuff. Like I'm talking where we go and we do not open a laptop for a period longer than like a week to do work stuff. So like, yeah, that's, I guess, when we talk about relationships, like obviously everyone's relationship is so unique and you can never compare yours to ours or what anyone else has been through, because our relationship mold may not be what everyone else is looking for, you know what I mean? But we work really, really hard to lead the lives that we want to lead. We're not money or financially driven by any means. It's just what we love to do. Will is very, it's funny, like he likes understanding things. Likes breaking things down and learning and understanding it. So that's why like business for him or coaching, because he'll always be a coach. He likes trying to break things down and understand why it doesn't work and what he can be doing to improve it or tweak it or change it or whatever. So because there's so much love and excitement for him around that, like work doesn't feel like work for him the same way that it maybe does for me. But at the end of the day, we both are able to sit there and go, okay, this is something that we've identified within our relationship that we need to work on, so that our relationship doesn't remain a business partnership, but is actually a you know, intimate, fun, exciting, playful relationship that also supports each other through whatever our endeavors and goals may be, if those change over time. So.
And like you said at the at the start, it takes a big understanding of where you're at in terms of your relationship. Like, as you said, you know, you guys do work together, you own a business together. So it's no surprise that, you know, most of the time it is related to work. But like you said, it comes down to that deep level of self-awareness, going like, hey, yes, we are in partnership together, you know, intimately, but also in business. Like, how can we change this? And like you said, it comes in seasons. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. You know, we go through seasons as women, you know, a menstrual cycle, it's constantly up and down. You can't perceive a relationship is going to be perfect for the rest of your life. Like, and this is what baffles me. Like, people don't realize that relationships, it takes hard work. And this might be a reality check to a lot of people who are listening to this. It's not a fucking fairy tale like that Disney sells to us.
Oh my God, no. Yeah.
Literally, Disney has ruined so many women's perception about what romance and intimacy and sex and whatever it is. Like, I had this client and she was like, I'm 45 this year. I haven't met the one. And I'm like, what does the one like look like for you? Like, it's interesting because like for so many years, I was just like, there is no fucking one. There is a person for the season that you're in, and whether they stay with you for an extended period of time or forever, awesome. If they don't, someone else is going to be out there. You'll find another soulmate. There's not. So yeah, it frustrates me.
Yeah, and I think like at the end of the day, a relationship is about bringing the best out of each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's relationships, and I mean, I'm obviously not going to go too far into this, but there's relationships that Will and I have sat back on and been like, this is really toxic, because they're constantly comparing themselves to each other in a sense of like, this person's accomplished this, therefore I have to do something bigger and better, which is obviously really, really toxic. That you have to, instead of trying to help each other through the wins, you're trying to compete against each other to accomplish a bigger and better win. And so, yeah, like we always strive on trying to bring the best out of each other. And as you said, like relationships go through kind of seasons. And it's funny, as you said that, I thought back to the moment where Will proposed to me, and we had a little weekend away together. We both sat there and we both agreed that like, okay, we're going to get married on, like, I wanted to get married on our anniversary. And it just so happened that it was like our 10-year anniversary this year. He proposed to me last year. And so we were sat down and we're like, okay, you know what? There's some big things that we want to do within the business. Big things. The gyms at that point were only just really starting to take off. And so we're like, okay, let's really focus in on this sort of stuff for the next 18 months. Let's give it our all. Let's do everything that we possibly can to help expand the team and give everyone what they're looking for within the business, and then take some time for ourselves. And that's kind of where we've got another 6 months left of this kind of push. And I feel like it's going to be a big, wild 6 months. And I'm really looking forward to that break, but I'm actually really looking forward to what next year brings for us as well, because in my eyes, it's like, this is where we can really start to see all that success, or all that hard work kind of come to fruition when we're not in the picture. So everything that we've been working so hard to do in these last now 12 months, but by that point, 18 months, where we can step back and actually just allow it to kind of happen without us constantly having our fingers in the cookie jar and managing everyone and what they need to be doing. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of that kind of transpires. But that's the season that we're in right now. And we know that, and we're okay with that, because we know that it's not long-term and it's not permanent. And we will do what is necessary to restore the playful, the exciting, intimate, whatever adjective people want to put in there for the direction that our personal relationship needs to be in.
I love that direction. And I love the in-depth connection that you both have with one another, and the understanding of where you're at right now in terms of like the business and relationship. And I hope that a lot of people who are listening to this may have to reflect a little bit on their relationships as well, and being like, oh, am I being too hard on myself or my partner? Like, do I need to have these really uncomfortable and vulnerable conversations? Probably yes, because, at the end of the day, if you're not having these conversations, you're probably just going to end up being resentful, or you'll break up, and that's not going to solve anything.
Well, my biggest thoughts is, and I actually had this conversation with a client literally like at the start of last week, around it, like openly communicating what your goals and your desires are, because no one can read your mind.
Yeah.
No one knows what's going on in your head. So like the conversation went along the lines of like, oh, we don't need to talk about our goals because we both kind of know what we want. And I'm like, but like, does she know that? Like, this was talking to a male who obviously like may not necessarily be the most open book naturally. But I'm like, yeah, like you may know what you want and you may think she knows what you want, but have you actually asked her if she knows what you want? And have you actually asked her what she wants? Because she doesn't know what's going on in your head. And though you may be leading in that current direction, things can change. And so you need to make sure that you don't have to have it every day or every week, but just go out, have a wine and check in. Just be like, hey, like, kind of, where are things going? Like, just have it as super chill. Like Will and I, it sounds like it's a super big D&M and, we're all emotional and whatever. Like, we're definitely not like that as people. Will, if anyone knows him, is, he's very emotionless. But we can have very relaxed, calm conversations. And then we're just like, cool, all right, we're on the same page. Let's just chug along, man. Let's just keep doing it. And like I said, I think because I view him as being my best mate rather than like my partner or, my fiance, or whatever, like I can have real conversations with him, and it just makes it a lot easier for us to both be on that same page. So yeah, if you build up that sense of resentment, then just make sure that you're actually still trying to have some of those open conversations so that you guys are both moving towards the directions that you want. And if you don't, and I mean, I'm by no means like a therapist or a relationship counselor or whatever, then it's okay if you guys grow apart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you said, there are times in your lives where you may be with someone that is right for that time in your life. And then there may be another time in your life where someone else fits that mold. I mean, I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it's like dating in the modern era. I've been with Will since, I was 19. So to me, it's like dating would feel so foreign, and kind of really fucking scary. Like, I actually have nightmares of like, oh my God, what if Will broke up with me? Like, what would I do? So I really empathize with people that are trying to navigate that and navigate those conversations and go through self-discovery, because like, I don't know what that feels like. So I can't, I guess, really comment too much in that regard, but that would be my 2 cents if I were to have any input on it.
Let's just say it's a journey being single in 2023. It is a journey, but you know what?
Yeah.
We probably wouldn't have it any other way, because I keep discovering new things about myself, which I'm absolutely loving. And it just shows that every time I do meet someone or I have a conversation with a person, I just value myself so much that I will not go back to my old ways of being, and really being stern about my boundaries and my values and my needs. And like you said, not everyone's going to match what you're wanting. And if that's the case, then yeah, you have to move on. You can't hold on to something knowing that the other person is not wanting it either, because again, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, for sure. So no, like I said, I can't, I can I empathize, but I can't truly relate. And I guess, when we talk at the start of this, we were talking about how like I'm going through that journey of self-discovery now, and I may be doing that a little bit later because I haven't had the time for myself. I haven't had that alone time that like maybe single men and women do have, because it's always been business, or it's been Will, or it's been, our dogs, or whatever it is that's kind of been going on that are distractions. Maybe there are distractions that I've intentionally put up because I have not wanted to do the work, but now I have the time and I have the ability and the desire to do that, and I'm trying to make that time for myself at least.
I love that, especially around like making time for ourselves, but making time for other connections. Like, yes, we've been talking about, the relationship that you have with Will, but it's also having, I guess, building better and healthier relationships with our clients and with just people in general, because I feel as if too often, again, like this is another point in terms of like intimacy, like intimate relationships, where again, you're in a relationship, but it's not going anywhere and you're still in limbo, but you think it's going to work and it doesn't. And then you end up break up and whatever. But my point is that as we start self-discovering ourselves, we are more open to building better relationships with other people.
100%. And like part of what we, like one of our our ethos or whatever at Nexus is really having like a human-centered approach, right? So really putting forward the needs and digging into the individual's goals and desires and what they sort of want, and molding services around that. And when I say molding services, I don't mean like we just bend whatever we do and how we deliver things or whatever, but I mean like the way in which we deliver the message and the protocols or whatever. Like we don't have like, these are your macros and you must track this every single day, and if you don't, then you're a failure of a client. It's like, fuck that. If that doesn't work for that individual, they don't have the desire or the means to track, and they don't want to do that, and they want to go out and socialize or whatever. Okay, well then we'll use a different system to get the desired outcome that they want. Like if they want to socialize more or whatever, okay, we'll go through a more intuitive mindful eating tracking process and teach people those sorts of things. So it's not pushing our own biases or whatever on the individual. And I think that in turn creates, allows people to at least create a better relationship and openness with you as a coach, because you're putting forward their needs above your own. You know what I mean? So you can build better relationships with people because you're just not trying to shove someone into a box that they won't fit in. So I think, I think that's really, really important for coaches out there to kind of sit back and just go like, all right, how do I deliver things? Do I push my biases on people? Is it this more of a dictatorship, or is this a conversational free flow? Like, how do we work? What does this person actually fucking want? And how can I help them get there? Like there's a situation that Will, like an analogy, or sorry, an example that Will often uses, which is like, you know, if there's a client that's maybe constantly maxing out in the gym, like he just goes in and he doesn't follow the program and he's constantly maxing out in the gym. And then he comes to you and he says, oh, I didn't follow what you said. Like I just, you know, maxed out again. And then you're like, oh, bro, like you're going to stall yourself. You're not going to do very well with this. And, you know, you kind of inhibiting your ability to progress or whatever. And you're kind of like coming down really hard on them. The next time they go and max out in the gym with their mates, they're not going to tell you, because they're like, well, last time I told you that I did this, you made me feel really shitty. So I'm not going to be honest with you about it. Instead, what you should have done is just been like, okay, well, if you're constantly maxing out and you're not following the program, let me make this program work for you. Like if you just want to go and train with the boys and have fun and, you know, those sorts of things, then I can modify this thing to work for that. You know what I mean? I don't need you to work for me. I can accommodate a program and tailor things according to what you want. So that's just like a different programming circumstance, and just constantly thinking about what people need. And that's the industry that we're in at the end of the day. Like, you know, if you don't want to be working with people, then go find another industry to work in at the end of the day.
100%. And it's such a good approach by looking at that. And I truly believe by going about it the other way, as Will explained, it helps people make better behavior changes instead of us as coaches hounding down on them going, you didn't do this, you need to do that. It's just like, again, like, we're not a fucking school anymore. You're not my teacher. I'm not the student. Like, treat me as an adult. Like, let's have this conversation going, hey, as you mentioned, like, you keep maxing out. Let's change it so you can keep maxing out, so you can work within what you're wanting to achieve. And I feel as if it's such a better way of approaching coaching and programming as well, because too often we'll get clients who are wanting certain goals, but then it just doesn't reflect back onto their lifestyles that they're living. So instead of putting them down, it's just like, cool, like how can we make this more of a positive experience for you to still be enjoying this?
I also think if you can articulate why you have set out the systems and the protocols the way that you have, people are more inclined to actually follow it.
Yeah.
The reason why they may not be following it is because they don't understand why you've done things,
100%.
how it's formulated, why it's laid out the way that it is. Because, and it's funny, like way back before I worked full-time and within Nexus and stuff like that, I was a gym manager and managing a few large commercial spaces here. And it amazed me talking to some of the PTs within the space there, saying, well, I don't want to tell my clients why they do everything or explain everything to them, because then they don't need me anymore and they won't pay me. I'm like, that's the fucking point. You get them the results, you get them the outcomes that they're chasing, and they learn through the experience, and they'd be more inclined to tell their friends, hey, this is what they've done for me and this is what I've accomplished. And then their friends come on board and things like that. But if you have this mentality of, I want to withhold information, and then you get resentment, you get frustrated or disappointed at them when they don't follow through with what you're trying to get them to do, then like it's just a vicious cycle, and then it's not a healthy relationship. It's not a trustworthy relationship by any means. So like, if you can articulate to people why you've got things in motion the way that you have, they'd be more inclined to follow through with it as well. And I feel like education and knowledge is power when it comes to training, nutrition, the self-awareness, all that sort of stuff.
100%. It's such a a scary mindset, not scary mindset. What am I thinking of? Like a scarcity mindset when,
Yes.
when we come across people like, oh, I don't want to share the information, or I'm just going to save this, or I'm not going to try and help them as much as possible because they may take advantage of me, or I fear they're going to go to someone else. It's just like, at the end of the day, you can't fucking hold on to anyone, even relationships, like whoever that comes into your life. Unfortunately, that's a work that they need to do. But I've seen that before, and I'm sure I've done that in the past when I first started as a personal trainer too.
Yeah. And there's so much information out there, right? Like, one of the things she talked about was like social media and the different messages that people are sharing. So if you can educate your clients on the right message, then they understand the noise a little bit better that social media puts out, right?
Yeah.
Like, if people understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, then they're not going to be buying those detox pills, and they're not going to be throwing themselves into, Herbalife products or any of that sort of stuff that is going around out there. Sorry out there to anyone if you actually sell Herbalife, but those weight loss shakes or whatever, like, they're not going to buy into that, because they actually know and understand what they need to do to make positive permanent change in their life. And that, at the end of the day, is why you should be in the industry, is helping people get to their desired goals and outcomes, and then have a sustainable quality lifestyle following that.
Amen. What does a quality lifestyle look like for the rest of 2023 for you?
For me, it would be a lot more of my own time, a lot more time for myself and my playfulness that I want to kind of exploit a little bit more. So one of the things that I'm actually doing is one of our staff members, Jordan, it's her birthday in a couple of weeks, and she said to me that she's like, oh, my 30th, I didn't really do anything for it. So, I just said, I was like, well, I'll plan your birthday for you. And she's like, we're just going to go out and get drunk, which I don't remember the last time I got drunk, and party and dance and just, I am still in my 20s. So like, why the fuck am I feeling like I'm in my 40s? And it's just like a, honed down, like, I don't, like, I mean, not that people in their 40s can't go out and party and dance and have a good time, but that's kind of what I want to start to get into more, is that playful side of me. So that's like one of the lifestyle changes that I want to have. Not that I want to go out and like party all the time and be on benders or whatever, but just have the ability to say yes to those sorts of things if I want to do them.
Yeah.
And then I think the other side is going back to like those boundaries and the delegation of staff, and feeling comfortable and letting go of certain tasks and projects within the business that other people can do for me, and trust them with it. I think that's the biggest thing, is trusting people to be able to execute it. And if they can't, then give them the skill sets to be able to do so they're not constantly leaning on me. So those are kind of the two major like lifestyle things that I want to be doing. And then other stuff is I have just started getting into like some track training, like sprints training and things like that, which I'm actually really loving, away from the gym. So it's a completely different side to what people would normally expect me. I'm kind of like, I don't really want to be at the gym right now. And like, I feel like that's okay. You know what I mean? But it's not that like, I don't want to be at the gym, because I don't want to have a healthy body and mind or whatever. It's like, I just want to do another form of training and whatever. So that's kind of, the other side, that like, I just being on the Gold Coast, weather's beautiful. It's amazing here. So having the ability to be outdoors and, run and just, again, like get out of my head and just go as fast as I possibly can in a direction that will take me nowhere, sort of thing. So yeah.
I think there's
What about yourself?
Oh, I love this. The question, what was the question? The
Redirection.
redirection on quality.
Like, where does your lifestyle?
So, similar to yourself, I am looking at creating more quality time independently outside of work. I'm noticing even on the weekends, it's like a very toxic trait of mine where I'll be enjoying reading my book, and then an idea will come up and I'll bring my laptop up, and then next minute I'm just like writing all this content. So it's just like, I need to set that boundary. Cool. Let those ideas come. If they come back to me on the Monday, we'll go with it. But literally giving myself time out to just enjoy more of the things that I'm pursuing right now. So like you said, like you're doing track, I'm pursuing more of the boxing side of things. I used to fight I used to fight when I was younger. I'm not thinking too far ahead if I'm going to fight again, but
I used to fight as well back in the day, but I couldn't do it now. I broke my nose really badly in one of my fights, and unfortunately now I just bleed every single time I get hit in the nose. So that's really cool.
Yes, yeah. I've been doing that outside of my traditional, weight training sessions, which is really exciting because, like, I'm sure you feel this with the track. You get this like excitement and high of doing something completely different. And I'm noticing that I'm no longer looking at training to perceive it more towards like the aesthetics side of things. For so many years, I was just in this little bubble of looking a certain way and lifting certain weights and whatever it is, where now it's just like, I'm purely doing this because I fucking enjoy it. And it brings so much like enlightenment.
You like how you feel doing it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big one for me, like with my track stuff. Like, I love how I feel when I run, and the breath of air, and I'm like, like that sort of feeling. And then afterwards, like, I love how I feel afterwards. Not that I'm like, and you'd be the same, like you're doing the boxing stuff. It's not that you're doing it to try and feel like you've worked hard or whatever. Because you know how some people are like, oh, I just want to feel like I've worked really hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's yeah, but I totally get that.
Yeah, I find, to be honest, like, because with boxing, I haven't done it for several years, you tend to forget certain combos and certain tricks. And my coach, like, I feel so humble sometimes when we do certain combos because, again, I fall into that category of like wanting to perfect everything. And if I don't perfect a certain combo, I'm like, let's redo it. And he literally sets the tone. He's like, no, we're not. We're actually moving on. We're going to do something completely different. And my mind's like, no, I need to do this right now.
I love that. I honestly like the boxing side of things. Like I said, if I didn't break my nose in one of my fights and just have claret every single time, I feel like it's something that I could probably get back into as well. But I said to Will, I was like, if I were to do it, like, would you come watch me fight? He's like, yeah, but I probably wouldn't really enjoy watching you just get like punched in the head. So I'm like, yeah, I feel like that's most partners though. Like, not everyone's necessarily being like, yeah, knock her out. Like, I don't know. But we love watching like the MMA and those sorts of fights and stuff like that. I love following along with a lot of that sort of stuff. It is exciting.
Yeah, same. It's super exciting. So yeah, those are like the main two things right now that I'm working on, is just doing the things that I'm enjoying more outside of work. And then I guess just being more open to dating as well, single gal over here. It's interesting because it's so easy for us to be consumed back onto our phones. We're already on social media as it is for work and emails and messages and da-da-da. It's just like the last thing I want to be doing is going onto a dating app and having to like be on my phone constantly looking at profiles of people. So I'm putting myself out there a little bit more, but just connecting with people in person, whether it becomes, you know, an intimate relationship or just a friendship. So yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine navigating dating apps nowadays. I just like, I think before I started dating Will, I think Tinder had only really just come out. And I remember downloading Tinder, and this was like 18, 19-year-old me. And the first few messages were like DTF question mark. And I was just like, this is like, even 18-year-old me, I was like, yeah, nah, I'm sorry, but this is just not my cup of tea. This is not who I am. And so that's what I mean. Like, I couldn't imagine trying to navigate those sorts of conversations now. And I feel like, yeah, just like you said, trying to have like genuine human interactions and conversations with people is like, not that you can even go to a bar by yourself and just be like, all right, like, I'm going to try and find my next relationship here. I think that most people, when it comes to like finding relationships, it's just more doing things that you love and connecting with people within that, right? Like, would you go to a bar to pick up someone even though you never go out clubbing and things like that, and maybe that's something that aligns with that person, like they like to go out and drink and party and those sorts of things, and you're like, all right, I'm meeting someone in a network or in a circumstance that I would never normally meet someone in or want to continue to do, so why would I think that that's the appropriate place to find a relationship?
It's so
like,
it's so true.
Yeah. So that's like I said, I take my hat off to you, power to you, girl. And hopefully you can have some fun along the way, right? Like, you know, at the end of the day, like, learn a lot about yourself, have a bit of fun along the way. And if someone else falls into your life by happenstance, then, you know, have fun with it. So see where life takes you.
100%. And you know what? It should always just be about having fun and not taking things way too seriously. And, you know, I have these multiple conversations with other single women where they're so stern and so serious about having to find the one or having to find a partner. It's just like, oh, like, you're putting so much pressure on yourself. Like that's so ick in my eyes, you know, by putting the pressure on yourself to have a certain status of whatever age it is and, you know, certain goals. Like, you know, we're always wanting to be a type of person, or whether it's having a family and kids and a house, whatever, like your goals, your dreams. However, when we put so much pressure on ourselves, like, there's so much resistance around it. So I find we just have to be very open-minded to whatever comes our way, whether it's business, relationships, you know, clientele, whatever it is.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, have that willingness to make changes over time with your life if things no longer fit the mold. At the end of the day, like, life, I don't know. I couldn't imagine life where I am now 5, 6, 10 years ago. And I have, like, when people ask you that whole, like, what does the next 3 to 5 years look like for you? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Sometimes I'm taking it day by day. Sometimes I like to have a lot of structure and know where the next 6 to 8 months is going to take me. But I feel like the things change so rapidly. And if COVID's taught us anything, it's that, you know, you kind of got to go with the flow a little bit sometimes. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it, is not getting too caught up into certain systems and structures of where life should sort of be. And you know, people come and go all the time within that.
To be honest, I let go of that thinking probably about 3-4 years ago, because I was certain that I would have a certain status in my business, a certain status within a relationship. It's just like, well, I'm single. My business is completely different to what it was 5 years ago. So, and like you said, like, things change constantly. Like, you know, it's always good to have like that big picture and that vision that we're wanting to work towards to. But like you said, it will change. One day you might wake up and be like, hey, actually, I don't want to fucking coach anymore. I want to be in real estate, for example. Like, who knows? And I think we just need to be a little bit more open to those changes. And if something sparks within you, just go for it. Again, it's like being uncomfortable by seeking what that feeling is. And, you know, if you do have the courage to go for it, if not, then you better stick out to what you're doing right now.
Yeah, 100%. Like being comfortable being uncomfortable is one of the things that I've really had to learn these last couple of years with where things have gone, because like I said, literally up until like a week before we bought this gym here on the Gold Coast, we had no desires to own a gym ever. I was adamant. I was like, I never want to own a gym, and now I have two. And now I'm looking at a third, you know what I mean? So, the third's definitely not happening anytime soon. But yeah, like, that's like just a perfect example of like, I had no idea, but that my life was going to be leading in this way. And, you know, even when we talk about like personal things like kids and that sort of stuff, like, in my life, I'm like, I have a timeline of when I think I would want to have kids, and this kind of aligns with my lifestyle of like, yeah, around here would probably be nice. We come back, we have some holidays, we do this, and then kids may be really, really fucking difficult for us. You know what I mean? And that just prolongs things, or maybe it happens really, really rapidly and we're just like, oh, well, there's another spanner that gets thrown in the works, and you just kind of go with it. So, yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to seeing where things go in personal and professional lives for both of us. By the sounds of it, there's a lot of different things going on. So yeah.
I'm really looking forward to following your journey more in terms of like the personal side of things. Like business, we know you're already fucking smashing it. Like I'm more interested in the personal side of things. So it'll be a really cool year for the both of us. Mickey, thank you so much for jumping on today. This conversation I know is going to blow a lot of minds and get a lot of people thinking a little bit deeper about where they're at right now and what they're actually wanting to like fucking do with their lives or with themselves. So before we head off, how can our followers reach to you, and how can they work with you if you are working with the one-on-one capacity clients?
Yeah, so personally, if you want to follow me on social media, it is Mickey Westcombe. It's just very simple. Mickey spelled M-I-K-K-I. Very different out there. A lot of people seem to get that confused. And my website is probably one of the easiest ways to put through some inquiries in terms of working with me. Of course, I'm always an open book on social media, but the website is nexusperformance.com.au. So when we talked about like the whole self-discovery and those sorts of things, and you said like you're looking forward to seeing me unravel all of that, this is, to be honest with you, the first time that I've publicly talked about it. So this podcast will be the first sort of releasing, and I'm actually really looking forward to showcasing more of what I do and how I do things with time, and like you said, sharing that vulnerability and that raw side. So I hope to see the same from you when you're comfortable sharing it as well through socials.
Oh yes. I'm all about vulnerability, baby.
Like I said, I've been putting up walls. I have to put up walls to protect and guard myself, but I'm looking forward to getting a sledgehammer through to them and putting it out there a little bit more and finding myself through this exciting next 3 to 6, 12 months, whoever knows how long it goes on for.
Forever. The self-discovery journey, I swear, it's like an ongoing thing. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any different.
Never ending. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's been beautiful to connect with you. I love, finding new relationships and exploring new things with people. So I definitely would love to carry on this conversation with you behind closed doors in the future as well.
Likewise. And you know what? When I'm in Gold Coast next, I'll be coming to visit you.
Find me.
Yes.
Come find me. Yeah, in Burleigh, the beautiful end of the Gold Coast, the south side.
Yes, love, love, love that place. Well, girls, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure that you tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag Mickey, tag myself, and then till next time, let's get fucking uncomfortable and dive deep into that self-discovery, girls. We'll chat to you soon. Bye.